Hello and welcome to this edition of To Talk. This month's show is going to focus on your personal safety. During our first segment, I'm going to be joined by Lieutenant Gil Padilla and Sergeant Dana Pierce. Detective Padilla has 34 years of law enforcement experience and is commander of the Criminal Investigation Unit. Sergeant Pierce is in charge, been with the police department since 1991, and he's in charge of the department's Public Information Office and Crime Prevention Office. So what we're going to talk about in this first segment is the PENS program, or the Police Email Notification System, and some personal safety tips for the holiday season. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now you are working and running the PENS program.
That is correct.
Police Email Notification System. I like to try not to use too many acronyms. Why don't you tell folks about how it came about and what the county tries to do with it?
Okay. Back in 2006, East Cobb was having a large amount of entering autos, as we call them, or cars being broken into. And it was such a problem in some of the neighborhoods that we saw patterns. And apparently a lot of the neighborhoods were not aware that this was occurring. So Lieutenant Chenoweth at that time said, okay, we've got to come up with a method to communicate with these young people, with the communities there, and especially with the homeowners associations. He realized, and we realize now, how important it is to reach out to the leaders of these communities and actually sit down with them and say, here's what the trends are, here's where the problem areas are, and here's who we're looking for. And so it grew into something very large. It grew from a pilot program in Precinct 4, which is the East Cobb area, to all of the precincts. So all of Cobb County now has the PENS notification system. And with technology the way it is today, we have to take advantage of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the commissioners use Friday updates with email. And I remember, because I was back involved when this all started, and one of the things, people think that it's just to kind of tell people crime trends, but it's also kind of works when we have an active crime investigation too, does it not? It
does. If we are actively investigating something and we need the community's help, we use the PENS notification system also to reach out to them and say, hey, look, this is happening. We believe these vehicles may be involved. If you see something, report it, call us. We don't want them waiting and sending an email to us. We want them to call 911 immediately and say, hey, we saw this vehicle in here that met the description of a vehicle you were looking for.
And now that's a really important point to make, because I have a lot of folks call me or call the office, and if people see something suspicious, the first place they need to call is 911.
Definitely.
Right. And I know one of the other useful things for the PEN system is dispelling rumors.
Definitely. We've had quite a few rumors over the years that I've been involved with that it really does work on dispelling the rumors. We will pull up a Facebook and we see where a community is really upset and kind of paralyzed because they had information that was incorrect, and we'd immediately put out the information that to dispel it and to say, hey, look, that person was not involved in any kind of crime there. This is who he was. We investigated it, and we put that one to sleep really fast.
Now, Dana, of course, that makes your job a whole lot easier.
It does.
When we can kind of dispel the rumors,
Sure.
Especially, I know that there's been a couple instances where the rumor will get out that there's some suspicious vehicle that is out there trying to abduct children or something like that. And I know that the PEN system helps your office in getting the information out there so that people can feel a little bit more safe.
And we use Nixle. That's a great communication. The community loves to communicate with their police department, their fire department, 911. And so by using things like PENS, using Nixle and getting that information out quickly will dispel a rumor. Now, it just depends on the magnitude of that and just
how fast it gets out there.
How fast it gets out, yes. And that's
so now
what we try to do.
you mentioned Nixle. So let's tell the folks a little bit about what Nixle is. What's the difference between the two?
Nixle is actually something that the people sign up for. This is not something that's force-fed to them. They go onto the website, join Nixle, and they can get updates through the Public Information Office, through my office, anytime there's a major incident. Now, we don't use it a great deal. We'll use it in case of emergencies. It could be a tornado, it could be a robbery situation, or it could be something like along the line of an intersection that is closed up because of a critical accident. So by reaching out to the community, that's something that we find is really necessary to do, again, to get that interaction with them.
Right, so the folks understand Nixle is kind of the, hey, this is real serious, no kidding. And now Penn's, not that it isn't serious, but it's more of a information. For example, I know that one of the things that we always like to point out to folks when they go shopping at the grocery store, don't put your purse in the kid's seat.
Correct.
That's correct.
And then you mentioned that in 2006 when Penn's got started, that we had seen the high incidence of entering autos.
Yes.
And one of the things I think that we found out, I think you both agree, is a lot of times the cars weren't locked.
Majority of those incidents, cars were not locked. And that's a good thing in one way, in the sense that the community feels safe. The downside to that is they make themselves opportunists of crime. People walk by, they see a car unlocked, they see a purse or some valuable item, laptop, cell phone sitting on the seat, and they'll open the door and they'll take it.
As much as 60% of our crime is from entering autos. While you and I are in bed sleeping normally, there are kids out there on a Friday or Saturday night we call door flippers, and they will be flipping the handles on automobiles, and anything that they get into and find, they usually take out of there. Now, that could be something as important as a laptop or a cell phone or a purse, but all that is something that we need to try to inform our public is to lock the doors and do that wherever you're at.
Well, and I remember too reading some of the different Penn's reports, and it's also close the garage door.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean, if you have your garage door open and the golf clubs are sitting in the back of the garage, well, guess what? They're probably not going to be there when you get up in the morning.
We busted, ironically, a theft ring one year, and what they were doing was going into the garage and starting their landscaping business, and they were stealing blowers and lawnmowers and those type of things. So, with a criminal element, there's a will, there's a way.
Well, let's kind of take that into, we talked a little bit about things that folks can do, and we let them know in the Penn's reports what they can do to kind of keep their valuables secure. As we enter the holiday season, what are some of the things that folks need to look at, or how to be secure? Obviously, when you're shopping in the shopping malls and places like that. What are some of the other things?
Probably one of the most important things is just to make sure you're notifying somebody that you're going to be away for an extended period of time. Certainly have a point of contact, emergency information with you that you can contact that loved one or the police department, and really the conscious effort that you're making to be aware of your surroundings and what's happening around you will pay great dividends. And we're encouraging people to call 911 with all those W's we learned in school, the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, maybe how, and if anybody's injured. The very first thing people need to know is that we can't get to them without knowing where they're at.
Sure, yeah, if you don't say where you need the help. Now, of course, one of the big things with social media and everything, and it just sometimes baffles me that people don't think this through, is Facebook. For example, don't put on Facebook the pictures while you're on vacation saying, enjoying our time at the beach.
Yeah, and Instagram's another one. They actually have the GPS indicators on there that will tell people, hey, I'm having lunch at Papa's or some restaurant in the location where they're at, or hey, I'm at the mall and I'm shopping right now for the Christmas holidays. We are basically telling the world that, hey, this is where my car is, and I probably have something that you might want inside my vehicle. And one of the things we notice is when people do go shopping, they're not going to want to carry all those items around with them. So many times they won't put it in the trunk of the cars. They'll put them in the back seats or in the passenger compartment. And again, people walk by, they see them there, and it presents an opportunity for them to break into the car and steal those items. We do have a increase of our entering autos, especially around the holidays, because people know they're out shopping.
Sure. And now I've also heard too that if you go say shopping in one place, obviously you want to put stuff in the trunk, but if you go from one shopping area to another shopping area, and there's people they'll just follow you. So you have to really be aware, like you said, of your surroundings during the holiday season.
And that's what concerns us too, is what Lieutenant Padilla was saying. You really need to kind of set out your day and plan your day, and not just leave all those bags and everything inside that automobile. You need to go by the residence, drop part of those off, and then just continue on your shopping and just making sure that you're paying attention to what's going on around you.
Okay. Now, you said that folks can sign up for Nixle.
They can.
Now, they also have to sign up for Penn's, do they not?
For Penn's also, they have to sign up. And the nice thing about Penn's, just go into a little more detail about it, it's not like we're asking them to come to all of our meetings. If they have a homeowners association We would like the representatives for that homeowner association to definitely come to our quarterly meetings. But we're trying to build it. Right now we have over 20,000 notifications that go out. And we definitely would like to try to build on that. With the population of Cobb County, over 700,000
Sure.
people, we need to get as many people involved as possible. Because if we, again, you have 15 people showing up at our PINS meeting quarterly, and all 15 of those go back and talk to 1,000. That's 15,000 people
Sure.
we've reached.
Right.
So we definitely want to reach out more and get people to sign up for the PINS.
Now, one of the things when the PENS report comes, and because I have people ask me this at a town hall meeting, is what'll happen is the PENS report typically reports by beat. So, for example, in Precinct 4, you might have the 415 or the 416 or the 417 beat, and likewise in Precinct 3, because District 2 has both Precinct 3 and 4.
Sure.
Now, to sign up, I know that they can either sign up on my webpage or they can go to the individual police precinct. Where can they find out, for example, beat 416, what area does that cover?
Well, what we can do, or the easiest way to explain it is like a house and a yard. You have the house, which is our precinct. You have the yard, which are up to the officers to patrol those areas of the yard, which are called beats. So they can actually go to any precinct and they can actually determine what crimes or what's happening in that area. Generally speaking, they can also, for a specific area, go to cobbpolice.com, plug in the address, and they can set the radius around that address and find out what has happened within that area, geographical area. And as the lieutenant was saying, 60% of our crime are entering autos, so we can see some of those red dots that are putting in those areas that people are just not really tuned in to what they should be doing to prevent this.
Okay, so like you said, they can go to the police website, they can go to my website to get more information. I want to thank both of you for joining us in this edition of Good Talk.
Thank you very much.
After this break, we'll be right back, and we're going to talk with Karen Hallacy from the Neighborhood Safety Commission.
Hey, you! Pay attention. This is your frozen holiday turkey. And this is your fryer, full of boiling oil. And this is your frozen holiday turkey in the boiling oil. So now what we got? Your turkey is burnt, your fryer's ruined, and maybe you set your house on fire. Get the point? Don't do this. Be sure your bird is completely thawed before frying. And never put too much oil in your fryer. Always fry outdoors and away from anything that might catch on fire. Be sure to keep children and pets away from your fryer. And finally, always read your owner's manual for proper setup and safety tips. On behalf of Cobb Fire, have a happy and safe holiday season.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back to our second segment. Joining me now is Karen Hallacy, who is the chairman of the Neighborhood Safety Commission, and she's been a member of the Neighborhood Safety Commission over the last 11 years. Welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell the folks in the audience here what exactly the Neighborhood Safety Commission does?
The Neighborhood Safety Commission was designed to enhance communication between public safety, police, fire, 911, and the general community. So our goal is to make the public safety seem friendlier to the community, to make it more approachable, to provide additional information that can keep our community safe. So we've had many different information sessions, including gang awareness and We help promote the pens that you talked about in the last segment.
Right. So we talked in the last segment about the PENS, the police email notification system, and then Nixle and all those things. And like you said, that's not very personal. I mean, it's very useful information. I've been a member of the Neighborhood Safety Commission myself, and you all are kind of the face that kind of goes along with the police officers in public safety. Now, you kind of mentioned a few things. I think people in the past have associated the Neighborhood Safety Commission. You have kind of where you have the burn trailer and some other things that folks can kind of come and see. But the Neighborhood Safety Commission recently has taken on some new tasks.
We've actually done several things. Just to give you some background, we did gang awareness presentations several years ago, but now we have a community awareness team or committee that is putting on monthly information sessions. And they are panel discussions where we invite the audience or the community to come either be on site every month and submit their questions to the panel, or they can actually watch it on this channel.
And you just recently had one, I believe.
We had one in October that was on active shooter, and unfortunately in today's society, everybody needs to be aware of what they should be doing if they encounter an active shooter. There's a great video out there that's on the Cobb website and on the NSC website called Run, Hide, Fight. It's on YouTube. You can just look on YouTube.
Right, and that's a great video for someone who works in an office to know what happens in an active shooter scenario.
Yes.
Now, all of these panel discussions that you have are televised on TV 23.
Yep.
And then available on the video on demand.
They are. They are on. You can find the link on our website, on the Neighborhood Safety Commission website. But we've had information on mental health. We have this month in November, we're talking about teen stresses, which as you approach the holidays and you approach finals and you talk about peer issues, those are things that every parent that has children is going to encounter at some point. So this is a great way to get answers and to understand what your teen is facing.
Now another very important area that I know some of your members on the committee, the Elder Abuse Task Force.
It is a huge and unfortunately growing problem, not just in Cobb, but across the country. We helped start a task force that included not only the police and fire, but also the district attorney's office, sheriff, Cobb Senior Services, and even has representatives on it and the GBI on it.
And there's representatives from some of the different state agencies also.
Right. So we have just a really, really broad spectrum trying to address this problem to detect and deter elder abuse. We started it, but we've now handed it off to the district attorney's office. We're still part of that group, but it's been such a success story as far as raising awareness. The community has now started to become aware and started opening their eyes to look at what's going on around them, but we have other counties trying to model us, and we are doing some test cases that we ultimately are hoping to roll out protocols across the state. But it all started with the Neighborhood Safety Commission.
Well, and I've been to a couple of the meetings, and what's amazing, I think, is that when you say elder abuse, most people think of physical abuse.
Right.
But there are actually many different components that can that cause a elderly person to kind of be subject to abuse.
The number one actually is financial abuse. And really what it comes down to is when you can isolate and make an elderly person vulnerable, they are now a primary target because they are a vulnerable target. So it's not just physical, it's financial, it's emotional, it can cover a broad spectrum. And so what we try to do is find different ways to detect that kind of abuse. And we rely on the community to also provide an input and notify and say, hey, this is not right when I see a bunch of elderly people going in and out of this house. And it can happen in a neighborhood. It doesn't have to be in this isolated house someplace off the beaten track. It can happen in a subdivision.
Right, and Cobb recently has had both an instance of financial elderly abuse, and then, like you just mentioned, in a neighborhood, in a house that looked just like any other house in the neighborhood, there was, just like you said, the elder folks coming and going, a lot of them, and it turns out that there was quite a few crimes actually being committed there.
It was a very terrible situation. They were being held in the basement with these basically ply walls with a barely working bathroom that didn't even have a door. They had a fridge with rotting food in it. It was a horrific scene. And when you had elderly people that didn't have family members checking up, and so we would encourage, to not only, if you have to eventually when a parent has to be put into a care facility, make sure it's licensed. Make sure you check up, make sure you arrive unannounced, basic things. Or if you have a friend who's elderly that's been put into a care facility, call them, say, hey, I'm going to stop by. Oh, I don't know when, but I'm going to stop by, because it just helps keep things honest. And that's what we want to do.
Right, and now, so that's what the relatives can do, and as you mentioned a little bit earlier, folks that are in a neighborhood, if they start seeing something suspicious going on in a house, a whole bunch of people coming in and out or things like that, then who should they contact?
They can contact 911. 911 is aware. They want to be part of this. If it's not an emergency situation, 911 can hand off that information. They are very trained to hand off the information to the appropriate, follow-up, which it'll probably be sent off to the police, to the respective community. It could be in a municipality like, Cobb Marietta or Smyrna or Powder Springs, or it could go to Cobb PD, but it could go to any one of them. But if you see something, say something, just contact 911. And we do have an emergency number also, but in the interest of ease, I would say contact 911, and that operator knows that they can hand that off, and it just makes it easier for the community to say, hey, I don't want to look up a number, I just want to go, I need to call somebody because this is just not right.
Right, so as we mentioned in the first segment, and now we mentioned again, that if folks see something that doesn't seem right,
just call
they should call 911. Right, because
Absolutely.
there's never a time, they shouldn't worry about whether or not it's the right place to call or not.
Right.
Let the 911 operator,
Right.
who is trained, as you mentioned, to decide where to send the call and the information, because it can save someone's life.
Absolutely.
And it can stop a bad situation.
It can stop a very bad situation very, very quickly, and you're not, compromising yourself. You're doing a community service. You're making the difference in somebody else's life, and it's very important.
So now how many members are on the Neighborhood Safety Commission?
There are 15 members. Each commissioner appoints 3. We serve for a 3-year term, and the chairman also serves 3, or appoints 3. So there's a total of 15. We rotate the chairmanship. I've actually been chairman twice now.
Okay.
You can. It's not a mandatory off. If you want to be reappointed, you can, and you're being active and being involved. You can stay on. So we have several committees that members can be part of. We have the Active Shooter Committee, we have the PENS Committee, we have the Community Awareness, which is the group that's putting on all these different presentations. So we have a lot of different, and the Elder Abuse Committee is still part of the whole Elder Abuse Task Force.
Okay, well thank you Karen for joining us on the show.
It's my pleasure.
If folks want information, they can either go to the county webpage or they can go to the Neighborhood Safety Commission
Absolutely.
webpage.
Absolutely.
Folks, we'll be right back after a short break of community announcements and kind of give a recap and preview of our next show.
Welcome home, man.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday.
Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday.
Water Wednesday. Touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday. Swap a snack Sunday.
All the healthy children eat well and move a lot. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday.
Whole grains Wednesday, try a veggie Tuesday. Let's move Monday, split the sweet Sunday.
Eat well and move a lot.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday.
All the healthy children, all the healthy children. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Welcome back. I hope you found this month's show interesting and gave you some useful information. We're not scheduled to have a show in December but due to the holidays, but we will return in January. And in January's show, we're going to let you know a little bit about the code amendment process and the future land use map changes. So I hope you enjoy the holiday season and look forward to seeing you in January.
Each year, our children are put at risk by drivers who ignore bus stop arms and warning lights. In Cobb County alone, more than 1,000 drivers ignore them every day. The Cobb Police Department and Cobb schools have partnered with Operation Stop Arm to educate drivers about the new law to save lives.
Tragically, a young child was killed at a bus stop by a passing car in 2009.
While we were being interviewed by the news crew, a driver ran through the stop arm of the bus.
We had just installed new stop arm cameras on some of our buses and were able to hand the photo over to law enforcement. And now, with the new law, hopefully we will reduce violations of the stop arm law and have additional evidence to cite violators.
Drivers who pass a school bus with a stop arm activated can receive up to a $1,000 fine from the court and get 6 points tacked onto their driver's history. It is a serious offense.
So next time you're in a hurry and you're tempted to pass a stopped school bus,
stay